sit down. Welcome to Stew in the Nut, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinupsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stewandthenun.com. And with that, everyone, welcome to another episode of Stew and the Nun. You got Stu here, and to my left, you're right. There we go. Uh-oh, what do I hear myself?
I'm right here.
I know, but I heard myself. I got echo coming from your computer.
I don't know why you would have that.
I don't know. I did it a second ago. It's coming across your speakers. That's weird. We didn't have that a second ago. Okay. Well,
you go. I will solve this problem.
It's not a show unless we have some technical difficulties. But anyways, welcome everyone. It is April 24th to another episode. Hello, David. Hello, Dad. Those in the chat room. And welcome everybody to another episode 121 of Stew and the Nun. Couple things changing up tonight. You may notice we have our text line up. We've had it for a while. We just really never broadcasted it, but we have our text line up going at the bottom of the screen. So if you want to send us a text, question, comment, or you know, a thought, an idea, whatever, 512-361-1178, 512-361-1178, and text the show. Toby and I will both get that, and we will respond on air or accordingly. Tonight, I'm breaking open something new. We're gonna kind of kick this off. It's just Toby and I tonight, so we're just gonna chat and talk about all kind of things. You see, you're seeing me from a different angle now. I changed things up a little bit. Got you coming from my oblique right, about my 1 o'clock position. Coming from a different angle, just something different. And tonight I'm celebrating for my brother in the Southland, down in the Southern Studio, a bottle of fine Texas straight bourbon whiskey, Toby, I got for my birthday, called Garrison Brothers.
Oh, dude. So Garrison Brothers is just outside Austin, Texas, near Fredericksburg in a little town called High. It is one of the classiest bourbons in America. It's smooth, it's high end, and you are drinking a beautiful thing tonight. I might have a small smidgen of envy.
Yeah, it's autographed there on the back. It is out of High, Texas, and it's all handwritten. What county it's from, what kind of corn variety it was grown, when it was harvested, when it was barreled, and when it was released. And this is bottle 25-101. Age 3 years and oak. So I'm going to crack this open right now, Toby, while you kind of talk and open up. And I'm going to sip this in your honor, my friend.
Well, again, I must speak of my envy, but I'm sure you'll be envious of me because you were probably working in an office today, you know, hidden, you know, from the great bright light of the sun. But I wasn't. I was down in Corpus Christi. I got back about 25 minutes ago. While we were down there with Rudy's Barbecue and Veteran Outdoors, filming a great spot for their upcoming campaign, Cause for a Cup, Cup for a Cause campaign, which is the camouflage cup in the month of May, where you can, you know, help support Veteran Outdoors. And we were down there filming a commercial with a great wounded warrior named Chris Biggs. And so it was great to be down out in the sunshine. It was a beautiful day. You know, we were able to fly the drones. All the filming went well, and that's just one of those things that when you're down on the the Corpus Christi Bay, it's typically windy. Things aren't going as well as you would hope, but like today, everything went smoothly. And when I say smoothly, I mean like other than us dunking a a drone into the Corpus Christi Bay, I caught the most fish. So that's like really what's up. But no, it was a beautiful day down there, and it was nice to have film footage of my superiority on the water. But it's a great time to be back. It's great that we're able to do a couple of episodes together because there's so much content that we want to go through and kind of work with and work on some of these tech upgrades. Big shout out to Gear for Grunts, always supporting us. And, this is probably the first time I have not worn a Veteran Outdoors hat on the show. But you're rocking the Veteran Outdoors today. I'm rocking the Gear for Grunts, a great company that supports the show. Please swing by and check them out. As always, Enlisted 9, repping the US of A, repping the Enlisted 9. Find them at gruntstyle.com/Enlisted 9 Fight Company. And you can go there and find out all the awesomeness that is known as Enlisted 9. Get awesome shirts like this. Get awesome shirts like what the Stu is wearing with his Jolly Roger, which I believe he got for Christmas.
As a gift from you. As a gift from you.
Yeah, so that's actually like...
You spent money on that.
Yeah, that wasn't part of our sponsorship deal. That was like, I love you, man. I know this is your favorite shirt, so I'm going to make sure you get it in time. Yes. But things are looking good.
I got to ask, I haven't seen a flag behind you that I've been looking for to see one of these days.
Well, in this studio, you're probably not, just due to I'm not the boss of the studio. But the new studio that's being set up at 710 South Austin Avenue in Georgetown, Texas, the new world headquarters, that flag is loud and proud. So look forward to broadcasting from there in the very near future. So thank you for the Garrison Brothers envy.
That is it's quite tasty. You know what it goes well with?
It's good.
It goes well with some brand new venison jerky I made today in my smoker. Mm-hmm. So first time I made it in the smoker. So brand new venison jerky, and I may we may be seeing each other soon, and if so, I may just have to bring a little bit for my brother.
Yeah, no, I'm always a fan of your meat. And
you and Sarah and others, yes, that's true.
So come on,
and you're not shy about it. I like you're comfortable with that.
No, like it's something I'm proud of. But hey, everyone that's come in, like Pete down there and Rivera, man, always great to see you in the chat room. Chippy, you're my brother as well, and Albert Parr, what's up, bro? I hope everything's well. Puckett, you're the man carrier. What's up, man? A lot of people in there tonight. Great to see I'm in the Facebook chat room. And if you have any questions, feel free to text us at 512-361-1178, and we will answer your questions. But let's get this party started.
Yeah, I've already started that. I was just, in case you were wondering, with the little bit of
there. Well, good looking out.
Yeah.
We are both grown men, proud men, and we come from different places. I'm from the West Coast. You're from the East Coast. I'm from Canada. You're from America. And despite being on one of the greatest continents on Earth, we are still subject, regardless of geopolitical borders, to terrorism.
Yep.
We are suspect to hatred. We are suspect to where we bear witness to evil. And in this past week, while we were watching some of the greatness of America and getting behind a wonderful woman, a former First Lady, former Second Lady, former cabinet member wife, Canada was getting tested. And when I say getting tested, I mean getting tested. That's one of the things that any of our listening audience that have military experience understand that we like talking about things in military terms. And a sensing round is a round that goes down range in effort to find out air density, air movement in terms of wind, and also to find out how like the effects of the trajectory are going to be towards the target. And so we believe that terrorists are constantly doing this type of practice to kind of see how we are, to test us, to send these sensing rounds into our society to find out how we're going to react to it. And I without a doubt, believe like that's what's going on in Canada right now. Canada has been fairly liberal on some of the refugee movement, although its immigration laws are somewhat stricter than America's. They have been a little bit liberal with some of the refugee movements in terms of people seeking asylum, and so not saying that this is the situation, but what I'm saying is like they got tested.
They did,
And
and let me ask you, Toby. You being from there, and of course, much more attuned to the politics and things going on there than others. Bring my mic a little bit more. The Trudeau is kind of known. He's been kind of soft. He's the pretty boy, very liberal in his views and things like that and opinions. Do you think this is a test for him, or or just you think he's going to see it that way, or do you think the people in Canada are going to see it that way, like they have with Merkel in Germany and others?
so I absolutely think like this is one of those moments where yes, leadership and reaction is being tested, and it's being tested operationally at different levels. I believe it's being tested at the highest level, and I believe it's being tested at the lowest level. Uh, I I assume that most people have seen the videos. In one of the videos, the gentleman's like, begging the police officer, the law enforcement member, to take his life. And like when I say people are being tested at the lowest level, I mean, okay, let's see how people react to a van doing this. Now, they tried it in London. Okay, so like we're within the Commonwealth, and we have similar law structures in terms of like weapons. We have similar law structures in terms of control elements, as well as law enforcement response, with there being more of a federal law enforcement presence than a more local constabulary presence. So you're getting the public tested to see how people react to a vehicle careening through a crowd and trying to kill people. All right, like they were tested on London Bridge and several other places near Piccadilly, I believe, in London last year. And then you're seeing the law enforcement response. And I believe like that gentleman showed amazing restraint, the law enforcement guy, and like identified what the situation was. And I think he made the right choice.
Did you watch the video of them arresting him? Did you get a chance
Yes.
to see that? He kept,
Yes.
whipping it, and I think that's what did. So many people talked about the restraint he had, but as you know, right? Those and many that have been in combat know you have milliseconds to make a shoot no shoot decision, right? We call it getting positive ID, a lot of different terms. And that's exactly what he's doing. And I think, in those milliseconds, his training kicked in, and he realized that whatever the guy was holding, he kept saying, I got a gun. I kept coming back for it, and just didn't look right. I mean, if he had one, why was he going back? Because that's kind of what when I first saw it, I thought, why did he not smoke that guy? Because most people would have been like, yep, totally justified. Didn't know what he had. But, with him doing the action, it was like it just didn't seem right, and it didn't seem like he was really posing a threat. And then when he's asking to be shot in the head, I think what probably my assumption is what kicked in that officer's head was this guy's trying to get death by cop, right? Suicide by cop.
Right. So I think there's layers here, and so absolutely on a very superficial layer, yes, this guy committed an act. He was compelled to commit this act, and he is looking for the easiest way out of it. He is looking for the easiest way, and the easiest way out of it for him is to provoke a law enforcement officer to take his life. Therefore, he's not held accountable. He will find martyrdom. He will find, alleviation because, he's dead. He doesn't have to be accounted for. And no one can extract any intelligence out of him about motivation, about training, about coordination, about anything if he's dead.
Right.
The truth dies with him. And I believe that he was testing the cop, trying to provoke the cop into taking his life so that he could be alleviated of that moment. And I believe like the cop, now let's go down a layer. His training, like you said, kicked in. He made wonderful decisions. He's like, no, this guy's threat isn't what it perceives to be. He maintained his level of escalation and was able to identify, like, I don't need to escalate this further. This has been escalated to this level. I can maintain this level, and I can resolve and mitigate any further harm. And this guy is more valuable to us alive than he is dead.
Right.
I will be honest with you. I don't know if I have that discipline. I don't know if I have that situational awareness. Well, let me rephrase it. I believe I have the situational awareness. What I don't believe I have is the discipline to do what's right. I think I would take the opportunity to smoke that dude because, like,
it's a split-second decision. You'd have to go off your gut, your instinct, your training. Yeah. I don't think he would have been wrong either way.
Right. No, but I think this guy made a choice
because if the guy would have had
the entire community.
If the guy would have had a real gun and dropped the cop, then everyone would critique the cop and said he got he got killed. He paused. He was scared. He was this. You can't win for losing. But the difference is between there and some of the attacks we've seen in Europe. A lot of the ones in Europe coming across a bridge and that stuff is at least the cops in Toronto were armed and they had the ability to stop them because many of the cops in the UK were not. There's certain cops that are, and as we saw in a couple cases, they turned and ran because they had no way to stop a threat either. So at least Canada arms their police. And make sure. And this, really the second terrorist. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. The second one I can think of. The first one was on the soldier guarding the statue, the memorial.
Yeah.
And then there's this one. I don't know of many others that have happened in Canada, at least from a terrorist. Not saying there has been killings and things like that, but
no. So you had the Tomb of the Unknown in Canada's in the Parliament where a guy, So you've had that where they went transition from the tomb into the parliamentary. Mm-hmm. And you've had this. So these are pretty, in terms of violent attacks. Now, there's been a lot of infiltration, and there's been a lot of nonviolent probing. And what I mean by that is trying to sense how well people can transition from Canada to the United States and vice versa in terms to conduct operational activity. So what you don't hear about, here in America, the border's a hot issue. The South border is a super hot issue, not just because of the climate, but because of, the political temperance around it. But the northern border is just as active. And, people forget, that's not a contested border, but it is a highly patrolled and highly operational border that has all kinds of they have to deal with drug trafficking, they have to deal with immigration, they have to deal with smuggling, they have to deal with all kinds of issues. So I think Canada operationally at the low level responded well. Now, time will tell at the top level how it's responded to. And unfortunately, I believe, just based on pattern analysis, that Prime Minister Trudeau is going to miss the boat. I think Prime Minister Trudeau is going to miss the boat. He's going to chop this up as a victory. He's going to chalk this up as, look at how awesome we are that we were able to solve this in a nonviolent manner. But I believe that he is going to miss the boat in terms of leadership in his messaging. I do not believe that the Canadian intelligence community are going to fail in the extraction of information. I do not believe that they're going to fail in the lessons learned. I believe that this is a wonderful opportunity that they've already exploited. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that this horrible incident has had the best outcome and the best resolution that it could have on the ground level.
Right.
And the mid-level level, it's happening. On the high level, I think the messaging of it is just going to be lost. And I think, just due to pattern analysis, I think, this is going to be an apologetic moment. I think it's why can't we all get along? Let's come on now, hug on your brother, smile at one another.
I don't, why do you think it's taken so long? We've seen, excuse me, so many attacks in Europe and UK and I think Netherlands, Brussels. I mean, all those different places. Is it because Canada, unlike maybe the rumor or the just stereotype that people have, isn't as open on its borders, isn't as easy to get into that people think they do. Because like in the U.S., people always think I'm going to run it like when President Trump got elected, right? They're all going to run to Canada. People always think when there's a war, they're going to run to Canada. Like Canada's like, sure, come on in. Do you think it's because they don't have those open liberal policies that Europe has that we haven't seen more of this in Canada like we have everywhere else?
While domestically there is a tremendous liberal overtone to Canada, internationally they are a protectionist nation. They're an isolationist nation. Okay, so you have like the geography issue, and what I mean by geography, I mean Canada has 3 bordering oceans. You got the Pacific, you got the Atlantic, and you got the Arctic. And if you want to circumvent those, you got a lot of standoff. You got a lot of ways to mitigate people like infiltrating, that way.
ISIS isn't coming across the North Pole. I don't think they're
no, ISIS isn't coming across the North Pole. Somali pirates aren't coming across in banana boats. Like, I mean, no disrespect to Caribbean countries that people are rafting
or Somalis
to the United States, and semi-submersible and submersible smuggling's going on to our south. I'm not making fun of that, but you don't see submersibles coming from the Soviet Union smuggling people in like to Canada. You don't see them smuggling people in with drugs via submersibles into Alaska.
I want to just on a related.
So geography wise, you have this challenge. So for you to enter into Canada, you have to either come through the United States, which means that you've already circumvented the law in some capacity to get into the United States. Then you're trying to cross into Canada. Canada has very strict immigration and tourism. And if you're in the U.S., like it's a super welcoming place, but I have a hard time going home. Like, I get the 3rd degree, and I'm a Canadian citizen on like all the credentials that are required of a Canadian, and I get the 3rd degree. I mean, I got detained, trying to get home, to be with my dying father. Like this, with all the proper credentials of a citizen.
Right.
You enter into a Canadian airport, and you don't have the right credentials. You don't exit that airport. And that's the thing is like, that girl, whatever, Raven or whatever her name is, I can start Rosie. I can start listing off all these Chelsea Handler, all these crazy, celebrities. They're like, well, if I don't like, what happens in the election, I can just go to Canada. I'm going to bring up my favorite person, Bradley Manning. And Bradley Manning thought that, he could go to Canada and give a speech as Chelsea Manning. And they were like, oh, I'm sorry. You're a felonious traitor in the United States. You're not welcome in our country. And he thought that it was like clear to go, like no questions asked. I can go to Canada because like they're the nicest people on earth. Yeah, we are. We're super polite. We'll always yield to the right. We'll always make sure that you get a top up on your Timmies. We'll always make sure that you get, a good opportunity to get to your seat to sit down and watch the game.
I know what you're talking about.
We'll bump into you and say we're sorry because we truly are. We're a polite, peaceful people.
Yep.
However, to maintain that politeness, that peacefulness, there's a reason why it's 20% of the world's landmass and a fraction of its population.
Yeah.
It's tough to get in.
You're right. I know exactly what you're talking about. And
it's a boot.
And you don't have to say you're sorry for nothing. No, did you watch? I'm just real kind of because we have a lot of the topics we want to talk about, but just kind of on the same one. Did you watch Did you watch I probably didn't, the game last night in Toronto or any of the footage from the game? It was like their post 9/11 moment. I mean, it was. They said the whole stadium was crying. I mean, they took that Canadian flag and were just passing it, and a giant Canadian flag, just passing it around the entire stadium as they sang "Oh Canada." It was pretty awesome. Did you see any of that?
I caught some highlights on my phone, but because we were filming last night. But one of the things I want to touch on before we go into the next subject is 2 major things have happened in Canada in the last 3 weeks. All right, so there was a bus crash with the junior hockey team in Saskatchewan, the Humboldt Broncos, which, anybody that's ever played any form of minor hockey, it doesn't matter where in the world, you understand the value of the bus. Like half the season is the bus, right? Like the relationships that are on that bus, that what that means to be on that bus. Um, you know, our daughter plays volleyball. She plays in tournaments. She plays in tournaments all over Texas, and we think it's a big deal to go a couple of hours, and we have to stay in a hotel a couple of hours from here for to engage in competition with 150 other teams. Uh, the nearest town to my hometown in Canada is like 2 hours away. So you want to play any kind of competition, you're going 2 hours in a bus or in a van or whatever to like go meet your competition and play with them. So this was a big thing, and the nation really mourned this event together. 17 lives were lost. Let's go ahead and compare it to what happened in Florida. This was a tragic thing. Semi hit a bus, killing a bunch of kids about the same age as the kids, a little bit younger, varying in ages as what happened in Florida. And the nation responded with a completely different way, a completely different mentality. What happened is they were like, okay, on Thursday, everyone wear a jersey to work. It's Jersey Day. Let's show solidarity and mourn with the families. Let's put your sticks out, at your door, so that here's a symbol, like the Spirits can play hockey because there's a stick available for them. Like, we're going to continue to play the game. We're going to continue to love you. We're going to continue to mourn and grieve for you. And the nation responded. Canada responded. The hockey world responded. And it's this beautiful moment. I'm getting emotional about it because, but
you're right. The hockey
all the
world.
Kids I grew up with that played junior hockey, I wasn't good enough to do that. And guys went and did that. They left their homes. They put faith in the system. They went from, we're not talking about rich kids,
right?
That we're talking about kids that this was their opportunity to get out of the bush. These are the kids that got the opportunity to get off the reservation. These are the kids that this was their shot. Right. And they were doing it. And this is a moment where the nation came together. And then to turn around a few weeks later after Humboldt and have this, a terrorist strike on the most peaceful, non-warring nation. It really is. So I think emotions are really raw in Canada. I believe people are and they don't take it. A different response. You looked at how kids responded here in America to Florida, to the Parkland shooting, which is a horrible tragedy. Bad things happen, and all people want to do is point fingers, both sides. You did this right. You did this wrong. You did this. You want this. This is your opportunity to say this. This is your opportunity to shut up. You look at how people responded to Humboldt. No one's saying, okay, let's look at, culpability. Let's not look at, should we talk about engine retardant brakes? Should we talk about whatever it might be?
Right.
Should we talk about the sobriety of people on a bus? Should we talk about not say I'm not insinuating there was any issues of that in any nature. What I'm saying is no one's looking to point a finger. People are just instead of pointing fingers, they're locking arms, they're wrapping arms, they're loving on each other, and they're dealing with the tragedy of the event, the loss of life of the event, and loving on those that are affected, which is huge.
Yeah, it's and you're right. When you mentioned the whole hockey world internationally, the world in hockey responded to that, and it's comforting people. And you're right. Toronto. It's not far from me. I was not there just a month or two ago. It is and I've been there many times. It's a pretty peaceful, kind of low crime kind of city downtown, at least from what I've seen. So, yeah, it's where I guess we're still trying to figure out the details and the motive, but just to spin that on another angle, we got the same thing. You look at the shooting Saturday night at the Waffle House, right, in Antioch, Tennessee, the same small town that a church was attacked, shot up. A church of 100 people and a congregation were slaughtered last year. The same little town, 16 miles out of Nashville. This guy jumps out, shoots up the place, kills a worker, a couple guests in there at 3:30 in the morning. Luckily, this awesome, brave soul just, man, you talk about, I don't know if he went to Tim Kennedy class or not, but he had at he had. I mean, and if anything, and I've watched him be interviewed. You see, Mr. Shaw. I mean, that's what courage is. Everyone is scared, and he said that he's scared. And you and I know this. We've talked about this, and this is the world we come from. But I mean, he doesn't look at himself as a hero, just like you and I know many soldiers we've served with don't look at themselves as heroes, even though we may look at them as that. But we also know soldiers typically say, "Well, that's my job. I got trained for it. I went through training and this and that." This guy's just getting him some, some Waffle House at 3:30 in the morning, and just said it's now or never. Right? I gotta go. And
his statement. So yeah, like he took the words right out of Tim Kennedy's mouth, and I believe like Tim Kennedy tweeted something just really supportive and complimentary of this young man, because like this young man said, I'm going to make it hard for this guy to kill me. Like, you're not coming in here and I'm not being a lamb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you want to kill me? I'm going to make it hard for you. And when he said that, like, it just really resonated, and because it's like, wow, like what a statement about character.
Right.
Let's throw bravery out the window. What he did was tremendously brave, tremendously gallant, but the character involved inside of any person, man, woman, or child, to think and to rationalize, I'm gonna be hard for you to kill. Yeah. Like, you're gonna kill me, I get that, but you're gonna pay.
Right.
I'm gonna make it hard for you because like you didn't earn the credit for taking me out. This isn't some cheap video game. You're not getting the credit of like earning my kill. I deserve better than that. I'm a better human being than you. You're gonna have to work hard.
Yeah. You know what?
Cheater.
What the thing is, again, he's not a soldier. Doesn't have that background. No. You know, we sometimes we talk a lot about the sheep and the sheepdogs and all that kind of stuff. Well, I think what I want to kind of just put to emphasize here for all of our listeners and viewers are military or not, right? This is a guy that just said, no, not this time, not now, not me, not these people. I mean, I saw him get interviewed afterwards, and even though, 4 were killed and a number were wounded and he was wounded, and and the people said, you saved so many more lives. There were so many people in this. And he's like, yeah, but the 4 that were lost. I mean, he still just cared about them.
Yeah.
And he's just a regular, everyday Joe. He's just a regular, everyday person. That's what I want to make sure I impress on people, is that this can be any of you, right? We've seen the shooting in Antioch. We had a young man there at the church that stepped in and attacked that guy and wrestled him and stopped that shooting. We had the shooting in Sugar Land, Texas, where it didn't happen, where a church full of people, a little bit more than 100, sat there and literally just got executed one by one. No one even threw a Bible or hymnal at them. I mean, and that I never really understood, except people just do things in stressful times. I get. But there, out of all the people, no one did anything. So it just goes to show you that, being prepared, having situational awareness. Yeah, if you can get training, if you can, real training, not, and just think about and be in that mindset, it's great. But when it comes down to it, when you're in that split second life or death decision, always pick life, like Mr. Shaw did. Always, like Toby said, like he said. Toby reiterated, make it hard to kill him. You don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to be a picture on a website of all the victims. You can be the picture of the one that like helped stopped it, or like the people on Flight 93.
I was just about to say,
jumped up and said, "Let's roll." Great examples. You don't have to be military. You don't have to be law enforcement. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be in junior ROTC. You just got to be an American. You got to be a human being, not even American. You got to be a human being that will not be a victim and wants to stand up and do something. Mr. Shaw showed that phenomenally, I think. And again, a senseless thing that you never would have thought about. Who's going to expect that at 3:30 in the morning in Antioch, Tennessee, in a freaking Waffle House?
Well, and like we have a dear friend that was on the show last week, Sarah Lee, who lives in that general area of Tennessee. In fact, I want to say she is from Antioch or neighboring town of Antioch.
In fact, Sarah just jumped in the chat room. She is actually just came in there. She's been to that Waffle House a few times.
Oh, crazy! There it is. Yeah.
They're lucky
yeah,
Sarah wasn't there. Not that Mr. Shaw could have handled it, but he would have been dealing
yeah.
with Shaw and Sarah. Would have been putting the whip on him.
She'd have wore him out.
She would have taken one of those bracelets, unraveled it, and choked that dude out right
Yeah,
there.
like Garrett Sentry takedown. Garrot. Sorry.
Yes.
Garrot
Yes.
Sentry takedown. It's right out of the handbook.
Yeah.
No, like the sad news is like, there seems to be an uptick in violence. And I don't believe like that this is, based on, the number of weapons, like I'm just saying that there's an uptick in violence. And, just to this evening in Dallas, Texas, in my home state, we had a tragic shooting that involved the shooting of 2 police officers and a civilian. I believe one of the police officers has perished, one of the Dallas police officers. This was a shooting at a Home Depot. The information is, really, kind of limited right now, so I don't want to speak about it, because I believe that if you're going to speak on something, you should be somewhat understanding or knowledgeable of it. But it's heartbreaking. We have people that put their lives on the line every day. Like that young man in Toronto that was being, provoked to take life, and, made that decision not to take that man's life. And you and I are both men that understand the awesome weight of human life. We know that responsibility. You and I are men that have taken life, and that's not something to be taken lightly. And to see law enforcement go out there day in, day out, it is a dangerous place. We had the law enforcement deliberately targeted in Dallas during the Black Lives Matter.
Last week, dude, 2 cops eating in a restaurant, right? Executed through a window. They were just sitting there eating in a restaurant.
What, 2 years ago, 2 cops executed in a pizza joint in Las Vegas.
Right.
Like you got the cop in New York City sitting at an intersection. Someone comes up and targets them. I mean, it's no secret I'm a huge fan of law enforcement. I work out with some of the most impressive law enforcement guys in our area pretty frequently. I'm proud of those guys. Shout out to those guys. One of which, I'm proud to say, I'm not going to name him just due to his position, but I'm proud to say that one of those gentlemen was part of the takedown of the bomber, and got the Medal of Honor, the Police Medal of Honor from our local state jurisdiction, as a result of his efforts in taking down the Austin bomber, and one, the tracking, the identifying, and then the takedown. Some of these guys are just such special people. Their families, they don't know. We joke about it when we deploy sometimes, because we make light of the situation, but we're only in danger when we deploy. And there's always that joke in training, like the most dangerous part of anything in training is the ride to and from. But like, these guys do it and women, these guys and gals do it day in and day out, and bless them, bless their families, watch over them, because it's just sad when you see this stuff, that while they're doing this and protecting us, that they get targeted and they get killed. And the good news is, I live in a state that doesn't tolerate that very well. No. So like, that's automatic death. You take a law enforcement officer, a member of the law enforcement agency, to include a dog, canine, you're done. Yeah. Like, and you're not gonna find a sympathetic ear anywhere.
Not even in the blue dot of Texas.
Not anywhere.
Yeah.
You are not getting that.
All right, so I want to switch gears on another note. Welcome, Boston Maggie, by the way, and Sarah to the show, amongst others. Another thing kind of popped up today, Toby, and that is I think it's near and dear to our heart, and that is the VA. And President Obama, or we're going to talk about
Yeah.
President Obama in a second, but President Trump, was known kind of for his term "You're fired" when he came in from his show The Apprentice, and Lord knows he's done that a number of times to people. Unlike the previous administration, he does not keep people around forever, even when they mess up or get found in contempt of Congress. He fired recently the VA secretary, who was a renowned hospital administrator, but wasn't cutting it. And he had appointed the White House doctor, which happened to be his doctor because he's the president, admiral, to the role of VA, of the Secretary of VA. Today he was he was being considered by committee for that nomination, and all of a sudden now today this thing hits the wire on Washington Post or New York Times or whatever that Admiral Jackson has a toxic work environment and had drinking on the job and overprescription, all these bad things, and it's like, wow. And depending on which news outlet you read or watch or whatever, it's like, oh, Trump's personal doctor is like this guy who's all sketchy and Bush League. But then when you go look at the facts, it's like, oh, he's been the doctor of the president, not a particular person, the president for the last 3 administrations, i.e. President Bush, President Obama for all 8 years, and now President Trump. His what they call FIT reports, or what we call in the Army like an OER, his evaluation reports, are now being leaked out from President Obama and President Trump, where they just wrote him glaring, promote ahead of peers, needs 2 stars, best guy ever, my family loves him, because he's like the doctor for the whole family. But it's just amazing. It's and sickening, should I say, that that the left or whoever's behind all this will do whatever it takes to ambush every nominee, including someone of such a stellar reputation, who very accomplished doctor and naval flag officer, to sit there and say this just to slow them up or stop it. Like, look, another bad Trump nominee, and we're going to stop the secretary. I mean, should we get the right person in charge of the VA? Is it benefit or interest any party, left or right, or any faction to not get a good person in charge of the VA? Someone that's qualified, someone that can understand, i.e., a military member themselves. It's just sickening that I saw this today. And luckily, the president said, he was asked while he was with the French president, what's he going to do? And he says, hey, if he wants to withdraw, that's his decision. It's up to him. And luckily, Admiral came back and said, no, I'm fighting this. This isn't true. I'm not going to just kowtow and just, tuck tail and run. Let's bring it on. And at least he's got stones that I was hoping he would have.
So, couple things. One, the level of hate that people have in their hearts that can blind them on anything. And I understand, like, I have friends that are educators. I value their opinions. I value their friendships I deeply. And I remember when Betsy DeVos was being nominated and going through the process of becoming the Secretary of Education, and people are like, how can we hire this person? She doesn't have this kind of experience. She doesn't have that kind of experience. And but she did have very valuable experience to bring to the table. And the hatred that came out, and I'm going to try and embarrass her during the confirmation hearings. I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to get on and blast all this stuff out there. She seems to be doing a pretty decent job.
Yeah.
And the reason I know that she's doing a pretty good job is because you're not hearing her name in the news.
Mm-mm.
Saturday Night Live's not currently making fun of her. So she's obviously someone that's doing a good enough job that the comics are leaving her alone because they don't want to look stupid.
You know where you've seen her name in the news? After the school shootings, and she was right there down there at the schools, and she was with the kids, and she was with the president in her swim lane, right? That's where you've seen her in the news.
Right.
She's stepping up into those moments and being a Secretary of Education.
So this fine Admiral Jackson, his name's, got thrown into the hat for Secretary of the VA. I personally wish that another name was thrown into that hat. And the name I wish, just for the record, that was thrown in the hat was a guy by the name of Rick Perry, the former longest running and best governor of the state, the Republic of Texas, because I've never met a man that's got love for a veteran more than Rick Perry. That guy would be, without a doubt, the best VA secretary we could have. And the reason for that is because he's an executive. He's one of the most successful executives in the history of the United States. And when I say executive, I mean an executive branch governor, someone dealing in governance. That's his lane. That is 100% his understanding of bureaucracy, his understanding of that level of institutionalization. That is him, and the passion that he has for the veterans of this nation is unparalleled. So, up front, everything that's coming out of my mouth after this is with the understanding that I don't think that Jackson's the right guy. But Jackson ain't a bad guy.
Right.
Admiral Jackson, pardon my disrespect, Admiral Jackson is a good guy because that's his job. His job is a medical professional working at different levels, and he was so good at his job that they were like, we want to trust you with the most important people in our nation.
In the world. In the world, essentially, right?
Yeah.
The president of the United States, 3 different presidents. You got to be pretty
Not
good.
once.
You got to be pretty good. Your Angie's List or Yelp reviews got to be pretty top notch.
Not twice, but a decade's worth. 3 people, 3 families, plus 3 plus families, and an understanding of that level, having a top-down look at that level, and understanding the medical system, the insurance process, all these different things, all these different layers that you're like, well, he's just a general practitioner. He's just a guy that's special enough to look. He's not just a guy that's special enough. He is a flag officer in the best fighting force on the globe and trusted with the most powerful people, arguably,
to keep
in the globe.
To keep them alive. If anything happens, he's the first. He's the guy. He's with them on every trip. Right. Yeah. So
his understanding is solid. So to say that he doesn't have the chops, and one of the things that people say he doesn't have the chops because he hasn't run anything of that level. And the Veterans Administration is the largest institution in the entire United States government. Talk about that. Investigate that. But to smear somebody because you're just so filled with hate that you don't care. This is like some vote vets BS. Yeah. This is like, to quote Jess Gates, some baby back BS. Like, this is straight baby back. This is, I hate you so much that I am going to say some ridiculous crap about you. And I'm at least like, I'm going to create and I'm going to stir up controversy because I hate you so much, Trump, that this guy will never get a fair shake. Well, even though the great savior of America on their side, the Messiah himself, was like, promote ahead of peers, best thing for my family. Yeah. What a wonderful understanding. Like, please keep this on. How many people in the transition of administrations keep their job?
Right. Much less
3. How many?
Yeah. The chef, maybe the chef. I don't even know if the chef does, right? But 3 administrations. Right? And but you're right.
Members don't keep
right,
jobs.
Right. on the hatred of I mean, look at Pompeo. The guy goes over on Easter, negotiates directly with one of the most ruthless and secluded, isolated leaders that have done some of the most horrific things to people, his own people, other people in the world. Over Easter, negotiated a guy that was ready to launch nukes at any second. Now the guy is backing off, shutting down testing. and they want to question, and there's going to be people tomorrow when it goes up for vote. I think tomorrow, the next day for the full Senate, they're going to doubt. This is a guy who a year ago was confirmed unanimously for the director of the CIA. They're going to doubt and question his ability to be Secretary of State. He already, before even being awarded the title of Secretary of State, has done more as a Secretary of State than the last several Secretary of States. Like number
the last couple.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say that he's already accomplished more than everyone combined since Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And they're questioning. He was just confirmed a year
more
ago.
than Kerry.
Yeah.
More than Hillary.
Everyone's
more than
been,
Tillerman.
Yeah.
Like everyone combined, he's done more.
But even Condi couldn't get North Korea to back down or doing like that stuff. I mean, this guy went over there, and who knows what he said or what was done or what the motivations are. But there could be somebody not there. There's nobody that could be more qualified to be the Secretary of State. If anyone, you'd want that guy to be your Secretary of State. He obviously knows how to negotiate and understands the world stage. But
close second would be Haley, Nikki Haley,
yes.
Ambassador Haley.
But the hatred is so strong, as you just talked about, that he's even up for doubt, and it may barely make it through, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, why can't the people want the best for this country? Why can't they want the best for it, no matter who it is? We have now people in Hollywood that are stepping out and stepping up and saying that same thing. You got Kanye, right, a darling of the left, who today came out, or last night came out and said something semi in support of Trump and that stuff, and they have just unleashed the hate on him today. It has been viral. Right, they will feed and turn on themselves in a second. I mean, they are like a pack of freaking hyenas. If you don't toe the party line, and say what they tell you to say, and keep the narrative going, dude, there's no loyalty or an allegiance. He didn't say he was like loved everything about President Trump or whatever. He said he supported a woman who spoke, a conservative woman who spoke up against Black Lives Matter and spoke some things. Said, yeah, I like the way she thinks. She's kind of hitting it on right.
Well, she was like, are you still pretending to be black? Because Sean White, pardon the pun. Oh, is that right? No, I got his name wrong. But Sean King, right? Sean King?
Yeah.
Sean
White's a snowboarder.
Yeah. Sean King, right? He's the founder and leader of Black Lives Matter, but he's not like African American.
Yeah. Right.
He's like Rachel Dolezal, right? He like self-identifies.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, but yeah, but that's how bad, and that's just look. I don't care when President Obama was not my favorite, President Clinton wasn't my favorite, but you know what? I still want to be successful because if they're successful, our country's successful.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't have to like everything. I didn't like everything that President Bush, either one of them did or said. I didn't like everything.
Why wish failure?
Right. Why would you? That's like saying this pilot was kind of an a-hole when he was getting on the plane. He kind of pushed me out of the way. I hope that son of a bitch crashes. Like what? Like, I mean, that's pretty much
You're on the plane.
Yeah. That's like, I hope that pilot has a heart attack while we're flying because he said he had to get on before us and I wanted to get my drink in first class. It's like, no. This dude, I mean, the president wields a lot of power and wields power that lasts well beyond their time with Supreme Court nominations and other nominations and appointments and things like that can have a long-reaching effect for decades. You want this person, you should be, if you're a godly, God-fearing man, you should be praying for the president no matter who it is,
Absolutely.
that they make right decisions. They make decisions based on faith and make decisions on wisdom. All that kind of stuff. You should never wish for them. You should never wish for anyone that can control your destiny. The guy in the bus driver driving your Greyhound or whatever, your charter bus. You don't want to, because that guy was a tool and took the last freaking apple pie at McDonald's when you stopped. You shouldn't wish for him to fall asleep and freaking have a wreck. That's what you wish for when you say this. You want the president to put in the best people. You don't have to like his what he says. You don't have to like what he tweets. Yeah, we don't all like each other. Toby and I, we get on each other's nerves every once in a while, I'm sure. Yeah, I love you, dude. I don't think you ever get on my nerves. But, we all know we have family. We disagree. There's things our spouses do or our kids do that we don't like. We get disappointed in. We wish they didn't say or do. We have close friends. We have extended family. But we don't hate them. We don't not want them to succeed. We don't want them not to find joy in life and be a good citizen. I just don't get it.
So this reminds me of former show guest, dear friend of ours, both of ours, Jim Hansen. And it reminds me of when Obama was president. Jim Hansen was very vocal about the Iran deal. And he was very vocal about the Iran deal. And there was a huge campaign on multiple levels to get with lawmakers, to get with, members of Congress, to get with leaders, cabinet members, anyone of influence to explain, like, this is not a good deal. Meanwhile, the executive branch were hiring celebrities to give talking points, because anytime George Clooney tells me something, I know that I should probably listen because, he's as smart as Matt Damon. And but all kidding aside, the way Jimbo handled that is like he spoke to the appropriate people. And sometimes, and this is as an infantry guy, this was drummed into me as a private. And I'm assuming it's the same throughout any branch of the military, throughout any MOS. Disagreement is not disloyalty.
Right.
You can disagree on a policy. You can disagree on, an opinion. You can disagree on many things. But that doesn't mean in the end, I hate you. It doesn't mean I want you to fail. It doesn't mean I'm going to sabotage your chance of success because I disagree with you. I'm afforded the opportunity to vocalize, to submit in writing, be it verbal, nonverbal, however, my disagreement with this. I'm still going to do what I'm told to do. But just because I disagree with you doesn't mean that I hope you fail and I'm going to sabotage you.
Right.
And I believe the reason I brought up Jimbo is because I thought he handled that situation very well, because he was like, look, my job is, as a person that understands this stuff and you, a person that might not, is to bring to your attention the flaws in your plan. And here's an opportunity for you to stop it. And that's not sabotage. That's like, hey, let me do my part.
Right. But
he didn't sabotage it.
That's the point of the First Amendment.
Disagreement is not disloyalty. And if you don't like the way someone's being picked, you don't like the way something's going, voice your opinion on how to fix it. Right. And I remember I've had several commanders, I've had several leaders, I've had several bosses. My boy Brian Morris is in the chat room on Facebook right now. Him and I worked together at Boyne South in Naples, Florida back in the day, and we worked for a guy by the name of Rich Prang. Loved Rich Prang to death. And I remember him saying hey, dude, you're not always going to like what I do and what I don't, but here's the opportunity for you to give some input to it. And if I take it, I take it. If I don't, I don't. Do your job.
Right. Yeah.
Don't sabotage. Don't do this.
That's the point of the First Amendment, right? Is civil discourse. The First Amendment's to protect you, for us to have civil discourse. We need to have civil, to be civil, have civility, as our good friend Matt Gauss likes to say.
Yeah.
And disagree and talk about things. It doesn't mean we're going to win each side over. I mean, you and I, Toby, both have a number of friends. We both kind of lean a little bit to the right. We have a number of friends that are very liberal. We have friends of ours that and probably family members too. I know I do that or that way. That's okay. That's what makes this country so we're allowed to have different opinions. God, if we all thought the same way, I don't care what side, left, right, down the middle, whatever, it would not be a good place to live. It would not have all the protections, everything we have in place, if we didn't keep each other in check. That's why we have checks and balances. That's why we have three parts of government, because not any one of them is going to be perfect. We are mortal men. We are flawed. People get drunk with power. They make mistakes. They're influenced by external factors. We want to keep things left and right. We got to keep. I wouldn't want to have all Republicans or all libertarians always in charge or anything. Just like I wouldn't want to have all Democrats in charge, because they're human, and they're gonna do things that aren't always going to be in the best interest. We have that. We have friends of ours, Eve and many others, Matt and others that are not Matt Burden, but I can't think of a name. But anyways, that we talk about, we disagree on. Okay, we move on, right? Just like we did in a platoon, just like you did in your company, right? You may not agree with platoon sergeant or platoon leader, just like when you were a platoon sergeant in Iraq. JP may not have agreed with you. Your guys may not have agreed with you, but you know what?
Right.
It is what it is. They didn't wish you to fail.
Right. And that's the thing is like America's built on the social contract. And I believe that people have forgotten what that social contract actually is. And that's like you pay in, you buy into the social contract that we're going to coexist peacefully. We're going to perform the duties of this nation peacefully amongst each other and with cooperation. We're representative government, people like to throw the word democracy around, but we're a republic, and like let's think of the big picture. And it's like, okay, if you don't have, and I was going to say something that Rich Prang, taught, me as a young kid, before I joined the Army. If you don't have a solution, you're just bitching. Like if you're not bringing a solution to the table, if you're not bringing a suggestion that could lead to an improvement in efficiency, if you're not bringing a knowledge or experience to the table that can improve the situation, you're just bitching.
Dude, you know how many times as a first sergeant I used to tell my soldiers that? I'd come to me and I say, hey, don't come to me with a problem unless you got a solution. That's exactly what I would say, Toby. I'd be like, if you come to me with something without a solution, and if the solution may not be, but at least an idea, I'm like, you're just bitching. I ain't got time for that. Right? Come to me. If you don't like how something's happening, give me an idea. Think out of the box. At least it shows that you're trying to come up with a fix and not just saying, "Hey, first sergeant, I don't like this." That'd run them right out of my office, dude. I ain't got time for that.
And that's what guys like Jimbo, like they were doing back in the day with that one situation we talked about with the Iran deal. Like, if you don't have, I'm not saying Admiral Jackson's, pardon the disrespect, is a bad candidate. I think there's a better candidate out there. He's currently employed. He's the Secretary of Energy. But I think he would be better for it. In terms of Rick Perry, I think he would be a better Secretary of the VA. I think he's actually he's the best thing in America. I think he's the right guy.
But they would tear him up too. They would attack him 20 ways to Sunday.
Yeah,
they've already done it.
Oh, Dancing with the Stars, another,
yeah, they did during the campaign. They tore into him.
Yeah, but who do you got? Who are you bringing to the table?
That's more qualified.
You're bitching about this guy and you're smearing him and you're doing the stuff Who do you got?
Yeah, that's
who you bringing to the table.
It's like Pompeo. Who could be better? Who do you got that's better than Pompeo to be the Secretary of State? Right?
It's let's just fail, and it's the Supreme Court justice, the secretaries within the cabinet. It's who do you got? If you want to smear somebody and you want to great, there's some guys out there. And I'll be honest with you, I was not impressed with the last VA secretary. I'm not even going to say his name because I don't think he deserves any form of legacy. I don't think what he did for the VA in his short tenure there was worthwhile. But I think there's some wonderfully qualified candidates out there that could do amazing things for our veterans, that could do amazing things for this country. And it's I've said their names. Take a hard look at who your options are before you smear somebody.
Right.
You going after Pompeo? Come on. Yeah. This guy did more in an interim position than the last 3 to 4 people.
Yeah.
Combined.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not to mention and he did have one of the hardest jobs in our entire institution of the United States government, being the director of the CIA.
Right.
Not an easy task.
Yeah. And again, we're about an hour in, I know, and we've got just a little bit more, but the hatred, the uncivility is just, I mean, let's talk about first ladies, right? We just lost the Miss Barbara Bush. I mean, phenomenal first lady. We talked about her last week. We were on the air, I think, right when that news broke. Mm-hmm. It happened right before we went live, and it kind of threw us off for a little bit before we had Sarah on. And we've watched it happen this week. I watched the funeral on Saturday. I didn't think I would. I started watching. It was just phenomenal show of respect and just a great thing they did to honor her. Everyone has come pretty much for the most part has come to her graces, and she was very rarely, if ever, controversial or anything like that. But even though there's some, right, there's some professor out in California, and she said hateful things, and I'm sure other people did. But that's just the way it is. But you get something like that first ladies are they tend, except for maybe Hillary Clinton, tend to stay out of the controversy and stay out of that kind of stuff. They pick a cause and go after it and do that. Michelle Obama, for whatever you thought, I mean, she picked a couple causes, whether they were the right ones or whatever, dealing with school lunches and some of her menus and however that happened, either way, but she picked a cause and went after it.
She also went after military families.
She did a big
Like
support for
her
families.
and Dr. Biden.
Yep, she did do a lot for.
They tried to do something for military families, right. And I think they succeeded on some things. So let's not forget that. Yeah,
that's a good point. And and then you got Melania Trump, who is kind of been pretty quiet in the background, has really focused on raising their son, and is now just not too long ago, I think the start of last school season, moved to the D.C. area and all that stuff. I mean, she has handled herself with grace. And I mean, the woman is uber smart, speaks multiple languages. I mean, and is nothing but class. She's today they welcome the French president and his wife. Is a big state dinner going on right now. They have the big review of the troops, all the pomp and circumstance. Not something that President Trump has done a lot. I mean, he really hasn't done much of any of that. He kind of shied away from that. This is probably one of the first big kind of outs after the inauguration, the really biggest pomp and circumstance kind of thing he's done. And man, they again went after her today about beautiful French American designed dress and hats and stuff, and it's just the vitriol coming out of Twitter and everything else about her, what she wore and how she looked. It's like, man, can't just you show it's like someone just a teenager cussing all the time, dropping the F-bomb and everything else, every other word to try to make themselves look big or talk, about all this stuff they like they're a big person. Or that's what I see when I see this kind of stuff. It's like, let someone be in that position. I mean, she's not done anything. She's
right.
She's not out there in a muumuu and a freaking hair curlers in her hair, no. Swinging a freaking rolling pin. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no. So she's not doing the things that others have done. And I'm going to go ahead and put Barbara Bush in my top 3 first ladies of all time. And I'll put her up there with, Betty Ford and Eleanor Roosevelt in terms of what she was able to accomplish for society. She was a tremendous lady. She's definitely, some people argue maybe drop her, Nancy Reagan, I think, is a close fourth with, like the DARE program, the keeping kids out of drugs, and, dealing with school issues. I mean, she's in terms of like the 45 presidents that we've had or whatever, she's in the top 3 of first ladies. I think that's something to be said. Some people are just, like married to a guy that's great. And then some people are the reason why men are great. And I believe Barbara Bush is a shining example of why, like, men are great, because not only was her husband a cabinet member, a vice president, and the president,
and both of her CIA.
Both of her sons became governors, successful governors in different states, and one of her sons was a presidential candidate, a legitimate presidential candidate, and the other son was a president during a tough time of war, and her impact on that entire family throughout. And, while you hear stories of like crazy cocaine binges and stuff like that, you don't hear stories of police investigations involving hookers in trunks and dead people in cars. She was what a first lady should be. While a lot of people romanticize, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and the fact that I'm saying Onassis shows the point that I'm trying to make. Barbara Bush is one last name. She was a Bush. She was a classy lady, and she did amazing things in that opportunity. Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump, while able to attend, due to scheduling, was able to attend, stood next in photos to people that have made fun of her, have chastised her and was able to like graciously. I'm not that guy. You talk smack about me, you talk smack about my husband, my wife, not my husband, but you talk smack about my wife. I'm not getting in a picture with you
Yeah.
unless the pictures of me like putting you in the woodshed out back and beating your head in. Like you disrespect my family, you talk smack about my kids. You know, we're not posing for a photo together. She's never said anything disparaging about anybody. And if you can find her saying anything disparaging about anyone, I challenge you to do it now. I challenge you. You have an entire week to contact me and prove to me that she said anything disparaging about anyone that's held office in this country. She's shown nothing but respect for anybody that held any office
Right.
in this country. And on top of that, what people aren't saying while they're saying all these other things about her is one of the coolest gestures. That's something only a first lady would understand, someone that's truly in tune with the office of the presidency, is she brought the staff members that still serve her, that serve Barbara Bush, and that knew Barbara Bush through their service to that funeral.
I didn't know
Think
that.
about
I didn't know
think
that.
about that.
Yeah.
Think about now. This service was held in College Station, not far from where we're at here in Austin, Texas. She brought the people that worked with her, the people that truly would benefit from that moment of closure, from that moment of mourning. And instead of like being all about the Twitter, being all about the moment and all about what is she wearing and like who is she stand like she sat there graciously next to people that have badmouthed her, badmouthed her husband. She sat there smiling graciously, and she brought as her guests not people she was trying to impress, not people she was trying to gain favor with, but people that deserved the opportunity to be recognized for their service and to mourn someone that they loved. And how many people have worked in a servient position would attend your funeral?
Yeah.
Think about that, and think about the opportunity that she provided. So you could say whatever you want about her. People are like, oh, she's too pretty, she's too dumb, or she's like an immigrant, or he's got all these blah, 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 like she, like she's not good enough to keep him because he got this or whatever. She said nothing disparaging about anybody. I challenge you to find it. I challenge you to find anyone more gracious and anyone more compassionate out of the people that she had her picture taken with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my wife and my youngest son had the chance to meet her the night before the inauguration because they were at our hotel and before I got there, and she was absolutely gracious and just as kind as could be, and I mean it left an impact on them, and it was just a few moments, but they got to talk. Hunter got to talk to him, and it was a great thing. It's another thing I've noticed this week too, just is that we talk about the hatred and the uncivility and everything. It's just, it seems like MSNBC and NBC and some at CNN have just, they're trying to outdo each other for the biggest douche of the week that they can get on their air, because you cannot turn on the TV. A few weeks ago it was David Hogg was on every single in front of every single camera he could be on and just manipulate and monopolized every single news feed he could. Now it seems to be porn star actress extraordinaire Stormy Daniels, her lawyer. You can't throw a stick at any TV on a news station, even Fox, and not see this guy. He has been all over the place, and I'm trying to figure out why, because I just heard that she is now starring in a new porno again. So I think she got her publicity stunt going through, but it's just like they have no one else to do but just tout the same tools back and forth over and over on the news, and it's like there's so much going on with North Korea, with Syria, with everything else. Can the news can rebuild its reputation. The news outlets can, if they just start being news outlets. But they want to keep touting these things that have nothing to do with anything and putting them in front of the cameras 24/7. Anyways, that was my rant.
No, like you have people that say things because they have something intelligent to share. They have something to contribute that's positive, and for purpose. And uh, my dad taught me that wisdom isn't what you know, it's what you do with what you know. And people that are out there trashing like that, that teacher out in California, that's like, hey, look at me. I want to be important. So I'm going to say something with shock value so that you can, and then I'm going to be like, and I don't care because I have tenure. I guess she's learning what like that actually means right now. Uh, because you might not have the tenure you think you have when you're like going out, and making racist, anti-Semitic tweets. You like, and you live in California. You might have wanted to check that one first. But again, Stormy Daniels, uh, David Hogg. There's so many out there. You're trying to be famous based on a lack of wisdom. It's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. And if you think that like, you know, trying to like bag a president and, make yourself, a star by saying that you're the person that did this, um, after, like whatever, strong arming people for cash or blackmailing them or, and whatever. I'm not here to pass judgment on you and your lifestyle, but like I can't take you seriously, like because I know that it's like Conor McGregor. I can't take Conor McGregor serious ever again because like you showed your ass. You threw a trolley through a bus and hurt innocent people because you threw a tantrum. You're out there selling sex, and you're trying to pump up your image for a porno. Like, wow, great contribution to society, Stormy.
Yeah.
Like, man, I really want to listen to you. I really think your voice is valid because, like, you're saying the only thing that you have to offer humanity is you're moaning. I can't take you serious. You make anti-Semitic tweets and, you insult a lady that doesn't know who you are, that's never done anything to you because you think it's going to be good. Like, I can't take you serious. You want to call someone's Uncle Louie an idiot because he served? I can't. No, you got no validity. You got no credibility. I can't take you serious. And the fact that people get that moment, that's just a direct reflection of people's willingness to like put people on blast. Yeah. Just like in our own community, the stupid sock puppet, like I'm going to get at you for your oath of enlistment or your oath of whatever, your re-enlistment. Like I think you're stupid for doing it. I personally think it's a little disrespectful because I believe if you're truly making that oath, you should do it, like with the reverence that it deserves. But I also stood beside a guy that got it done in Hooters. And you know what I did after he got it done in Hooters? I ate wings and had a beer with him and leered at some young ladies because I was single and, I was like red-blooded. And yeah, I'm not gonna apologize for, enjoying the family restaurant known as Hooters.
Right. They have good wings and ice cream.
They have delicious wings.
But no, I
mean, like, come on, like, just stop.
I commented on that some too. I saw some of the stuff. Look, I thought it was disrespectful. The reverence word was right on. That's exactly what I thought. But I also made a comment that they kind of got what they deserve. And when I said that, I think some people took it as some of my old soldiers kind of talked to me about online. I think they took it as I supported the firing and all that stuff. I didn't. I thought that was kind of excessive. I've definitely seen a lot of different re-enlistments done different ways. But my point was that they got what they deserve by doing it in today's times. Look, Toby, you and I, we had social media and phones and camera phones back when you and I were young soldiers and privates, we never would have saw Sergeant. We probably would have saw E3 and E4 a number of times back and forth, if not lower. But we didn't, so we could get by with stuff back then. That's just the way. But in today's times where everything is viral, and as soon as you post it, you lose control of it. you get what you deserve if you do something dumb like that. It's like, if you take a camera to Vegas and you've on a video everything and live stream everything and you do in Vegas, well, you may get what comes out of that. And I think that, it's terrible they got fired, but it's not surprising that they got punished, and they should have, because it's about, as bad as it sounds or crass, it's about brand management and reputation management in today's times, and you know that better than anyone with your company. It's about that. And they for the Tennessee National Guard, they really, in the viral community and the instant gratification we have today, they really ruined, they damaged some reputation. Something happened.
No, the way you just phrased that, you're absolutely right. Like, you get what you deserve in this day and age if you think that that's not going out there. All the vet flakes are gonna like freak out when you do something that they consider anything slightly disrespectful to the veteran community or the veteran cause, and they're gonna hold your freedom ransom because they like are so high and mighty because they're so awesome and everything that they've done is better than 99.55% of everybody else.
Right.
Like, you're absolutely right that in this day and age, like, you get what you deserve if you do stupid stuff in public. I'm not going to mention the person's name, but I have several friends. One that I love deeply that's out there doing hard work for our nation right now overseas, that is smart enough to know that while things emotionally tug at him, he wants to react to them, and when he feels like he's being emotional in response to something, he check fires, and he throws a group text up, a group message, and he's like, "Hey, should I say this? Is this something
At least he thinks to do that. Most don't do that.
No, and I find myself doing that too. You and I, like, how many times have we shared memes back and forth going like, where we're like, and it's like, yeah, you get what you deserve. You want to play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
But like, that's all I got on that. And I thought there was some great responses to it from within the community. I think Jack Mandeville's was probably the best. A close second was probably Nick Palmisano's from Ranger Up. I think that was a good one. But it's like, we in the age of butthurtedness, the comment, the terminology that my wife absolutely hates me using.
I use butthurt all the time in my civilian work. People do.
That's an unwelcome term around the nun dinner table, and I am reminded of that every time I use it. Shout out to my wife,
who's probably like right across the room. No, one thing about the vet community, we will defend each other, but we will also feed on each other in a second, right?
Like the sharks in the water.
We will. We'll be like, "Oh, you got a little blood coming off you," But we will also defend each other. Sometimes, though, I think we get a little. Many get a little they have good intention, but execution just is really, really poor, or what's behind it. But yeah, it is. We definitely do that. But we will come to each other's defense in a second. If someone hits us from the outside, just like brothers, yep. Right?
So great show. We ran a little over. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks to everyone that commented in the chat rooms. We love to see the participation there. Thanks for we're trying a new text line, and we appreciate those that tested it for us. And we will be back next week, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, Tuesday night. The Stew and the Nun. I am the Nun at Toby Nunn on the Twitter and I believe the IG. Follow us on Facebook at The Stew and the Nun. And
you can follow us on all of our outlets, Spreaker for audio, and YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch TV, and of course Facebook Live. Keep in mind, we haven't been able to fix it yet. For some reason, YouTube cuts at 40 minutes. It always cuts it right at 40 minutes. The best place to catch this show if you're not on Facebook is on Twitch TV. The resolution, the quality is really, really superb. So definitely check us out there. You can also get Twitch TV on your Apple TV, Fios Internet, and a whole bunch of other outlets. So it's always a place you can catch it. So yeah, with that, Thank you for tuning in. Toby, thanks for being here, brother. And good seeing you again. And hope to see you here in person in a few weeks.
All right, I'm going to put some aloe vera on my face.
Yeah, you look a little sunburnt, brother. It's all right. But all right, everybody have a good night. Thank you so much. Thank you, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Gear for Grunts, and everyone else that we support and like. And everyone have a good night. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nun Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenun.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.